Hello, people of the world. Welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax. If you out there have a hard time making big decisions because you're afraid of failing and you're afraid of the outcome of the decision, then you are like me. I'm really weird because I either make really impulsive decisions and I for example, move across the country on 3 days notice, or buy a dog really fast, or get into a relationship really fast, or book a plane ticket to Hawaii, which didn't happen but almost happened, really fast because I get really I get really impulsive. But then there's times when I get really terrified to make a decision because I'm so afraid of failing. I struggle pretty bad with depression, and I've been seeing a therapist for a little while now, and she's been telling me that getting an emotional support dog would be really, really beneficial and helpful for me. And I've always wanted a puppy, so I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So right after one of the most difficult counseling sessions, talking about stuff that I've never talked about in such detail before, I got to my car and I jumped in and I Googled every single nearest animal shelter that I could find and went to all of them, didn't find a dog, looked on Craigslist, got Phoebe. Like that. Phoebe was this golden retriever puppy that was the cutest little thing in the world, but also brought me down a downward spiral for 2 weeks straight to where I wasn't eating and I wasn't sleeping and I was having panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and things weren't okay. So after a lot of conversations and a lot of tears and a lot of phone calls with my sister and with different vets and different things, I came to the conclusion that right now is not a good time for me to have a dog. Oh my gosh, it ripped my heart out. And I think I knew the whole entire time that this just wasn't a good time for me to have a dog, but I was so scared, and the more days that would go on, the more I would get attached to Phoebe, but it just wasn't fair to her. And it wasn't fair to me, and she was trapped inside this apartment because I was supposed to be moving into a house with a yard, but that fell through too, and it was just one thing after the next, and I was so scared of having to give her up because I was scared that that meant that I failed. I was scared that that meant that I just can't make decisions because it sucks when I do something and I feel like this is a bold, powerful move and I'm gonna go for it and I expect it to be great, but then it actually comes crumbling down. That's what happened with Phoebe. Rest assured, you guys, she lives in a mansion in Malibu overlooking the ocean now, which is better than I will ever have probably. But I bawled my eyes out harder than I've ever cried over a boy. I felt like she was my child. I had to give her up. It was the hardest day I've had in a long time. And I think the best advice I was given in the middle of all this is that being a grown-up means trial and error. I hate making a bad decision. I'm so scared to make bad decisions, and when I make one that I'm afraid wasn't right, I want to hide it and cover it up. Which is so interesting because I moved to Boston really impulsively last year. While I was in Boston, I was facing probably the deepest, darkest depression ever. I don't know why, I don't know how to explain it to you, but it was really hard, and I wasn't telling anybody because I didn't want people to think that my impulsive decision to move to Boston was bad, because I made this big deal about it and I was embarrassed, and I was I want people to think that I make good decisions. I can't let them know that I failed or I did something wrong. So I covered it up and I didn't tell anybody until the very end, and I popped, and all this long story thing that I'm not going to share right now. And then shortly after that, I get into a relationship with this guy really, really suddenly and impulsively. He told me he loved me and wanted to be together the very first day that I met him. And I went for it. I was like, okay. And you guys might think that that's crazy, or you guys might think, oh, how sweet, I don't know. But I made this decision, and towards the end of this relationship, which only lasted for 3 months, which is funny because Boston only lasted for 3 months as well. But towards the end of this relationship, I just started to crumble. And I knew in my heart that this was not right. There were signs and things, and it was not okay. And I was really scared to get out of it because I was scared that, did I make a bad decision getting into this? Am I gonna make a bad decision to get out of this? Do I have commitment issues? What is the deal here? And again, I didn't want to tell anybody because I was embarrassed of my impulsive decision, and I didn't want people to think that I failed. So I waited till right before I ended up breaking things off with this guy was when I started to let people into what was going on. So it's I got a little bit better. I got a little bit closer. But I really want to celebrate right now because the bright side of what happened with Phoebe was pretty much from day 1 or day 2, the amount of stress and fear and anxiety that I was feeling with that puppy, I let people in right away. It was an impulsive decision that I was all loud about on the internet and in my friendships, telling everyone about this dog, but it was hard, and this time I decided to tell people. and that was okay. It doesn't mean that I failed. It meant that I tried something that I thought would be good for me and it didn't work out. So I changed my mind and moved on and tried something different. And I'm trying to be okay with that, because walking away from that scenario, I just felt like the biggest failure in the world. And it was so sad. Phoebe's better off. She has a big yard and a mansion in Malibu. You're welcome, Phoebes. I love you. If you somehow got puppy YouTube and are watching this. Someday I'll get a dog, but that day is not today. And it makes me really sad. And to be honest with you guys, it's a little embarrassing because I thought that I could do it and I really wanted to be able to do it, but I had to listen to myself and I had to know that I have to take care of myself. And right now I am in what feels like a constant uphill battle with mental health. It's not easy and it's not fun, but it's where I'm at. I'm learning that it's okay if this year isn't a good one. It's okay to try things, and it's okay for those things to fail, and it's okay to try again and to try other things. That's just where I'm at. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for supporting me and joining in on my mission and my journey and what I'm doing. I think these are the kind of conversations that matter and need to be had. And sometimes it's really embarrassing for me to make these videos. Like sometimes it's hard for me to put all of this out there into the world for anybody to hear, but I think that there's purpose in it. I love you guys. I don't want us to be afraid of letting each other in on the process, because sometimes we make decisions that don't end up okay, but that doesn't mean that we're not okay. Sometimes we do things where it feels like we failed, but what if the only way we can actually fail is if we don't learn something from it? I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Real quick, guys, before you leave, please go check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/JackieGTV. That is where you can go support me, go get more involved in what I'm doing. You can also read the prologue of my next book, Finding Home, that I'm almost done writing right now. Also, it's a really exciting things happening over there, so go check out my Patreon page where you can support me for literally like $1 a month. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much, and I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time.